They said, how shall we compete with this Muhammad? He's saying amazing things. The way he relays and tells us, and we can't challenge him. So the Yahud said to him, ask him 3 questions. That will put him in his place. He won't know the answer to these 3 things. One was ask him about Ashab Kahf. Who were the Kahf? Who were Ashab Kahf? And remember, these stories amongst the Yahud and the Mushrikeen, because they're both from the Silsila of Ibrahim alayhi salam, used to be fables and stories they used to regularly tell each other. These are regular occurrences. They used to tell each other, sitting when their campfires, they used to go herding the sheep, etc. So they used to tell each other these stories. But what was exact and fact, they didn't know as much detail as Surah Kahf explains. So as a challenge and to demoralize and defame and discredit Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the attempt was, jao inse ye pooch ke aao, pata chalega na. Ashab Kahf, ask him about Ashab Kahf. Ask him about Dhul Qarnayn. And these are 2 incidents of 2 individuals, 2 categories of people. And third, ask him, what is the rule? What is this peculiar thing, rule? The phenomenon of the soul. Ask him this. Surah Kahf explains all this. And in the dhimn of this, there are other stories as well. So just a brief backdrop on what was that Hazrat Ashab Kahf for you, for food for thought, for your mazid matala. Just looking at the Solwa Para, before that Solwa Para starts, there's a discussion particularly about Musa alayhi salam. Ashab Kahf ka waqi story, one side, the discussion of Ruh and the nature of the soul and the Ruh, secondary. And the third thing, which was mentioned about the Dhul Qarnayn, is secular, as secondary. Now the discussion is of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. How did this come about? The event of Musa alayhi salam, what was the situation? It said that Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, he is one of the most high-ranking Rusuls. You know, there's a category amongst the prophets. All prophets are Muqarrab and Mu'azzaz. But Ulul Adami min al-Rusuli, Ulul Azmi min al-Rusuli, the great amongst them are 4. One of them is Musa alayhi salam. And if you look, which prophet is talked about the most, this is a question for you. You check who is most talked about. Musa alayhi salam was giving beautiful advice to his companions and his ummatis. And they were shocked. They were amazed. They were seekers of this knowledge. And in their enthusiasm, they asked Musa alayhi salam, that Musa alayhi salam, Subhanallah, is there anybody more knowledgeable than you, Musa? Now Musa alayhi salam answered that on the face of this earth, there's nobody more knowledgeable than me. Now if you look at it factually, and the usul is that a Nabi is the most knowledgeable person of Islam. He was right. But there's a saying in Rawz Salat, the Mawlana Mushtaq Mutadawli has written the book, is Sultan Madaris, and he recorded the saying in there, Hasanatul Abrari, Sayyiatul Muqarrabin. Hasanatul Abrar, the good deeds of the saint. There's 2 categories of godly people. People who are waliyon ki kisme. One is Abrar and one is Muqarrabin. The good deeds of the Abrar or Bar Admi or Bir, the one who does good activities, his good activities in the sight of the Muqarrab people looks like a sin. And you can say, how? Explain this to me. I don't want to digress from the topic. To explain one point, you have to explain another point. Example, Mawlana Yasir Rahmatullah. He was sitting with his khadim. They brought some water for him and helping him do wudu because he became old and frail. So they helped him do wudu, and it was an alim who was doing his khidmah. And he gave water, and instead of running the water from the sunnah way, from the hand to the elbow, he passed the water from the elbow to the hand. And when Yasir Rahmatullah, given his life for sunnah, the revival of sunnah, he told off and admonished that khadim alim, and he said, you are trying to make me do kufr. You are trying to make me do. The alim respectfully responded with a very meek and humble voice. In them days there was a lot of respect for ulama. And he said, Hazrat, this is sunnah, it's not kufr. Basad mazarat, Hazrat. So Maulana Yasir answered him, where does kufr start from? Where does kufr? This is sunnah, it's not faraz. So Maulana Yasir retaliated by saying that where does kufr start from? Now you may not understand, so I have to explain this now. Because if you leave a nafal, you have a tendency to leave the sunnahs of the salah. Once you leave the sunnahs, you become late for the faraz. And eventually when the value of the faraz is out of the heart, ghar mein pad lenge. Can you see that in the sight of Maulana Yasir today, something which seemed to be so trivial and so simple was a high sin in his heart and his eyes and his sight, but this was not available to the common conscience. So what Musa alayhi salam said was correct, but it was beneath the level of ulul azmi min ar-rusul. When you have friends, when you have a big son and you have a smaller son, if the smaller son does a mistake, you don't scold him as much as you scold the older. Why? तुम्हें तो पता होना चाहिए था. You had sense and aql, you had tarbiyah, you had khususi. It's amazing. Allah is doing the tarbiyah of His Prophet, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, go. Go now, there's a person more knowledgeable than you. Seek knowledge from him. Hazrat, the words are beautiful. I don't have time to explain. Hazrat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how will I recognize this person? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you will go to a place where the waters merge. Majma al-Bahrain. Ulama have written different hypotheses. Is it the one in Africa where the two waters merge? Is it in Afghanistan or on the Sarhad of Punjab and Hind? Is different hypotheses. Some ulama ikram said it's just a sign to see where the water is well different. Some ulama ikram say it's actually a land where the water is less so one can travel over it. Regardless where it is, Allah knows, Allah's knowledge. His khadim was Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, who later became a Nabi in himself in the presence of Musa alayhi salam. And then later he became the Khalifa of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. This is a point of note that you want to make in your diaries. Then Hazrat Musa alayhi salam is carrying on, and he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him that there will be a fish, cooked fish, and it shall miraculously enter the water and leave as an aftermath, like in soil, it will leave a hole in the water.
Subhanallah.
Miraculous event. Yusha alayhi salam is walking with Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and this incident happens, he sees it happen, and Musa alayhi salam wakes up and says, come, we need to go for our journey. And very strong he was in temperament. As he walked on and came forward, what did he see? He asked regularly to Yusha alayhi salam, that Yusha, where is the fish? Take a good look at it. And he said, Hazrat, that fish has gone. He says, why didn't you tell me? He says, Shaitan made me forget it. So Hazrat Musa alayhi salam walks on, and he meets Hazrat Khidr alayhi salam. Khidr alayhi salam then has a discussion with him, and then the words, I'll translate the words because we don't have the time. قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. Hazrat Khidr alayhi salam said, you can't be patient with me. Why? Because I will do certain things which are not from your knowledge. They are from the knowledge that I've been gifted with. And you will but by necessity criticize. Because the things I will do will be ma fawq al-haqiqa, ma fawq al-zahir. قال ستجدني. And look at this, how the student and the teacher should be with each other, and the respect and the awe you should have for the ulama and people of Quran and Deen and Islam. قال ستجدني. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam lamented, said, ستجدني inshallah.